Hey, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for bearing with me on the time tonight. We are very glad to be able to talk to you this evening. I love doing Travel Tips Tuesday and being able to talk to folks about Disney destinations and beyond. In fact, in the coming months, you will be hearing more about some destinations other than Disney. So, as you may know, I specialize in Disney, love it, was a cast member, did that for a while. But now I'm with Travelmation, hence the shirt here, and I work with resorts like Universal Orlando, Universal Hollywood, cruise lines like Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Norwegian, Princess, Asmara, several others out there, Celebrity, as well as all-inclusive resorts like Sandals and Beaches and many others that are all around the world. Land tour experiences like Adventures by Disney that they do, Disney Cruise Line, of course. Many other Disney destinations besides Walt Disney World and Disneyland. So a lot of different things. I love doing it. I love sharing my experience. I love also just talking with folks and sharing some advice and things that I've experienced, and hopefully to the benefit of others. So tonight's conversation is this idea, surrounds this idea of popular questions. So as a travel agent, we get a lot of the same questions a lot, and there's no wrong answer, or excuse me, there's no wrong question is what I'm trying to say. So if you're planning a trip, you want to ask all the right questions. And by working with me, I'm going to do the best job I can to make sure that I give you the best answer possible. We're going to go directly to the source. We're not just going to read, third-party blogs out there. I have my own blog myself. If you go to travelmationjohn.com, you can find that. But we go directly to the source, to Disney. I mean, just today, our president and founder of Travelmation was on a major podcast called WDW Today. And they were asking him about some things that Disney may have in the works down the pipeline, and even Universal, and talking about some different things. And he even said, we're not going to say something unless Disney says it, and we're not. We're not just going to pull information out of thin air. So I hope that you can take the information that you hear on Travel Tips Tuesday and use that to plan your vacations and your trips, be it Disney or elsewhere. And I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for downloading the podcast. If you're a podcaster, if you're joining me here on Facebook Live, say, hey, what's up? Let me know you're here. If you have any questions, let me know what they are. I love interacting with people live. It's a lot of fun for me to do that. Just please keep in mind, I am a father of four. That's the perspective that I'm coming from, a father of four. I'm a former Walt Disney World cast member, and I'm also a travel planner. I love this because it's a lot of fun. I get a lot of joy out of it and serving other people. And the other thing I'm going to say before we dive into tonight's topic is this. I have a special giveaway that we're doing. And if you have kept up with my Facebook story or any of the posts that I've put out there, I have a very special giveaway. And that is this right here. This is something that you cannot buy. I have a good friend, also a client, that I just got off a call with. Shout out to John Nell that's out there if he's watching this. And he just got back from Disneyland in California. And the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge land opened there back in May. And as you know, it's about to open and just very, very soon at Walt Disney World. And one of the things that you do if you stay on property in Disneyland on one of the 3 resort hotels there, one of the perks is they give you some kind of freebies when you check in. And normally one of those that you get is this little awesome pin right here. And this is just right now. This is not, they won't always have this pin. And you cannot buy these. This is the only way that you can get this, unless you go to like eBay or something. But sometimes you might run into some counterfeit pin situations if you go there. So this really cool pin right there, if you can see that. So it's got the Millennium Falcon on it, a couple of X-Wings, a Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. And I've also got a lanyard as well that says Galaxy's Edge on it and says Disneyland. It's got the Millennium Falcon on there as well. And so this is something, again, that you cannot buy unless you go to eBay. You never know what you're going to get there. It's got a little pouch in the bottom for park tickets, credit cards, IDs, those sorts of things, if you want to use those. But again, this is something I'm giving away. I don't even have one. And this is, I would love to be able to keep this, but I'm not going to. This is something that I want to give just kind of as a thanks to the folks that are listening. So if you are listening, if you're watching this now, there's a few different ways that you could get a chance to win this. I'm going to mail it to you, ship it to you. and we're going to do the drawing next week on next week's live. That's this. Number one, you like the podcast page. If you go to @Travel Tips Tuesday podcast, where you search Travel Tips Tuesday podcast on Facebook, you can find it there. If you like that page, every single like that you have, we'll go through, pull a list. Everybody that's liked the page will automatically be entered into it. And the other way is this. If you go to one of two places, if you either go to my Facebook business page, which is the link is there below, and leave me a review if I've ever helped you out with the vacation in any way at all, if you have booked directly through me, or whether it's just a piece of advice that you used, you're like, yeah, that kind of worked for us. Tell me how it worked for you. Tell me why it was important. Tell me why it was useful. Post that review on my business Facebook page. Again, that link should be below right there. And the other spot is on Apple iTunes podcast. If you want to leave me a review there, what I would encourage you to do is do that. Screenshot it, send it to me. And if you leave me a review on the podcast page, that's an extra five entries into the drawing for this little guys. And these things go from anywhere from like $50 to $70 on eBay right now for the legit thing. So anyway, so that's pretty awesome. Haven't done a giveaway before. Pretty exciting. Again, thank you to John Nell. He is an artist, photographer, kind of guy, and he's very, very good at it. I'm actually going to be working with him to maybe even link some of his photography and original artwork on my website for folks that may be interested in that. He's very good at what he does, and he's very intentional behind it. He's not, copying off of other people. So know his heart. He has a huge heart for Disney and loves that. I think he's even a DVC member, but he also has a huge heart for his family and his own community. So if you Google John Nell artwork, he'll send you that way. So tonight, again, popular questions. Is there such thing as a half-day park at Walt Disney World? This question comes up a lot, especially when people are going to Walt Disney World, or maybe they're going to Disneyland and you don't have a lot of time. So, for instance, I've been working with a friend recently. I won't say her name unless she wants to reveal herself. She comes on, this show and says who she is. She may be popping on here in a little bit, but she was asking me some questions because they're going to spend 3 days at the Walt Disney World Resort. They were saying, well, hey, how can I do this? Is the park hopper ticket worth it? Is the do I need to get single park days? Which parks should I go to? When? At morning, at night? And we're looking at the calendar. We're looking at different special events and different things that are going on, trying to work all the logistics and everything. But her question was not alone. She's not the only person that will ask me that. Which parks should I go to? So again, it's a very common question because you want to maximize your time in the parks. You don't want to waste money. You don't want to waste money by adding the Park Hopper Plus option if you're not going to use that. Again, it's not my goal to sell you something that you don't need. I want to sell you what you do need, so you don't come back with a bowl full of regrets. You just come back with a bowl full of awesome memories that you can look back on for years to come. So let's just break it down briefly. So there at Walt Disney World, there are 4 main theme parks and 2 water parks. And Hope, I see your post there. That would be totally awesome. Would love for her to have it if she wins. That's going to be great. So I'm going to use a kind of random name generator to do that. So again, 4 main parks at Walt Disney World and 2 water parks. 4 main parks being Disney Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Disney's Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and the 2 water parks, Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach, which are a lot of fun. So if you spend more days in the parks, usually if you go like 5 to 7 days or even 4 days, you're going to have more flexibility with what you do with your schedule. 4 days are ideal. You can hit each of the major theme parks, and you kind of see what you want to see and do what you want to do there. But with 5 to 7 days, you have a lot of flexibility, really. You go that 5th day, which I'm a big fan of 7-day trips. They give you 5 full days in the parks because you hit all 4 parks. You've got your park day for each one, and then on that 5th day, you can kind of jump around and park hop a whole lot. It's a lot of fun to do it that way. But again, what if you're not doing it that way? What if you're only doing 2 or 3 days because you've got a long weekend? You're trying to maximize your budget and your experience. What if you're doing it that way? How do you go about figuring out how to get as much in as possible? So I'm going to go through a list of a few things. I think if I check the list here, I've got around maybe 6 different things to share with you tonight. Not really a top 10 list, just more of sort of 6 comments that have to do with this. And the first thing is this, and some of these things may sound familiar to you because I think they're going to help build a lot of value into your experience, regardless of how many days you're taking, but especially if you're looking to maximize your time in a short window. The first thing is this: have realistic expectations. So realistic expectations of the amount of time that you're going to spend in the parks. You're not going to have time to do everything. So you want to pick your top events, your top attractions, shows, things that you want to visit, things that you want to see, and tick those off. Plan ahead if you can at all. But know this: know that if you are intentional about picking those things, and you're going to have a lot of fun doing them. There's no reason for me to get so upset knowing that I didn't get to do ABC. So like one of the first times I went to Disneyland out in California, about maybe 6 years ago roughly. There were 2 major attractions that were closed during that time. Haunted Mansion was closed, and I think Big Thunder Mountain Railroad I think was also closed. So we couldn't do either one of those, and I was kind of upset because those are 2 classic attractions in the original place where the magic all started for Disney, and wanted to do those. But you know what? We got to do a lot of really cool things. We got to go on Pirates of the Caribbean, which is almost twice as long as it is in Disneyland versus Walt Disney World. We got to do Space Mountain, which you sit side by side there as opposed to in front of each other. Very different rides, same names, but completely different experiences. So having realistic expectations and focusing on the why of your trip as well can, and I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but having realistic expectations and focusing on the why of the trip can be a big help for you. So if you're staying multiple days, a park hopper ticket is a great idea to consider. And there are going to be things at different parks that you're going to want to see. And with a park hopper ticket, that can give you the ability to go from one place to another. And again, this is only available with multi-day tickets. You cannot get this, to my knowledge, so far with single-day tickets at Walt Disney World. So there are going to be different things that you want to see and experience. But with a park hopper ticket, you're going to have more freedom and more flexibility to do that. The Park Hopper Plus and Park Hopper tickets, you can do that. Just a little add-on to your standard base ticket. The third thing is this, and this is what I came off of last week's Travel Tips Tuesday. This was kind of my secret sauce that I mentioned to travel planning. Plan well and be flexible. Plan well and be flexible. If you're more local to Disney, if you're in the state of Florida and you're within just a 2, 3, maybe 4 hours driving distance, it's easy to say, okay, I can pack up the kids with relative ease, or maybe I just want to go with a significant other for a weekend getaway, or I just want to go by myself and just let off some steam and hang out and have fun in the happiest place on earth. You can do that. It's easier to, and it's also more affordable in a lot of cases because of the Florida rates for annual pass holders and other promotions that they have specifically for Florida residents. So it's easier to do that. But what if you're not? What if you do need to spend more time? It's harder to pick up and go last minute. I've talked about last minute trips before, and they're a lot of fun. But by planning ahead, by planning well especially, but by planning ahead even more so, you're going to do a few things. Number one, you're going to have the opportunity to build up the hype, to be excited, to something to look forward to, at the end of the tunnel towards that vacation time that you've worked so hard to earn. You're also going to be able to grab typically the best prices and the best availability. So Disney prices, if you followed them, typically they don't get any cheaper. But when they do, for example, the 2020 package release dates came out back in June, and then also they came out with a free dining promotion very recently, which is running. If you're interested in September, November, and December of this fall. So if you want free dining, in fact, I was working with some folks last night that are looking at staying potentially at one of the resorts on property, and for the quick service meal for their family, if they booked it at standard rates, it would have saved them over $1,000, and that's just crazy. I mean, to be able to go and get free food, get good food. Yes, it's quick service. It's not like McDonald's fast food kind of stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But they'll be able to get a lot of great food, have some good time, come home with a free resort refillable mug, and call out one of their souvenirs if they want. So there's a lot of cool things that you could do by planning in advance, getting the greatest promotion. So even if they come out with that, for example, I had some folks book for 2020 in the fall and in holiday season for next year, so more than 12 months from now. If Disney comes out with a promotion that is well within those dates, guess what? I'm going to apply that automatically for them, saving them some money. If those rates are cheaper, be it a dining plan, a hotel promotion, ticket promotion, whatever it is, we can do that for you if it's available, and we'll save you money. And I pride myself that I love being able to tell people, hey man, lady, person, this is how much we save. They're pretty excited about that usually, so they can spend that on their college funds or Christmas presents or birthday presents or souvenirs. I don't know, airfare to get there. So, but again, so planning well, planning in advance helps a lot. You can maximize your budget that way. You get your best picks of resort hotels. You get your best pick of your itinerary if there are any special events, which we're going to talk about in a second. And it's a lot of fun to be able to do. And being flexible, because things aren't always going to go according as planned. And you may have that moment when something you want to do is under refurbishment, or somebody gets sick, or just the unforeseen happens. It rains and some of the outdoor attractions are shut down. Whatever the case may be, by being flexible, you're going to be able to have an awesome trip, and it'll help you out a lot. So again, we're talking about is there a true half-day park? And I'm going to bring this all back together here at the end. So I hope you stay with me to the end, because this will make sense to you, I promise. The fourth thing is this. You want to be aware of special events going on at Walt Disney World, because this can affect the park schedules. So again, if you're looking to maximize your time, if you don't have a week or 2, 10 days, whatever the case may be, to spend on property at Disney, hanging out with a super flexible schedule, you want to be aware of when those special events are. Like, for example, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party at Magic. Both of those are at the Magic Kingdom. The parks do close early. So for 2 of the 3 days of the client that I was talking about earlier, Magic Kingdom closes early those 2 nights at 6 o'clock. So there are no fireworks that night. There are for the Halloween party, but it's a separate ticketed event. So this is where having a travel agent can actually be to your benefit, because we keep the heartbeat, our pulse on those things. We know when they're coming. We can let you know when they're coming in real time. If you do want to do one of those special events, great. But we don't want you to plan an open to close day, or plan to see fireworks on a night when they're not going to be there. Because yes, Disney does have fireworks every night, but occasionally there are special ticket events like those 2 seasonal parties that I mentioned, and also occasionally some of the parks will have specific dessert parties or after hours kind of events that are separate ticketed events as well, that you might want to be aware of, that do affect park hours. The season of the year many times will affect park hours as well. Be aware of extra magic hours, or extra magic hours that are coming out when Galaxy's Edge opens. So a lot of different things, a lot of different moving pieces, again, to kind of help you maximize your time. So we don't want to speculate when these things are going to happen. Again, we go to the source. We will let you know real time what's going on. We will help equip you to have the tools that you need to have the best vacation possible. And if you want to plan all the odds and ends, great. If you want us to be more hands-on with you, to walk you through the process, especially maybe if this is your first time, or maybe you're a veteran trip and maybe you're a veteran Disney World enthusiast, and you want to plan something different, regardless of the case, we're here for you. And again, we don't charge anything extra at all for our services. This is something that I love. It takes the pressure off you. It takes the pressure off me. It's a lot of fun. So that was number 4. Number 5, stay on property if at all possible. So a lot of folks like to stay off property for a number of different reasons. And it's fun to cook. There are some kitchens in some of the resort hotel locations on property at Disney. But sometimes it's just a better fit for folks to stay off campus. It is. Or off campus, off property. Whether you're renting a house, or in Airbnb or Airbnb, as the case may be, that might work better for you to rent a car, to have that flexibility to drive around and see some more of the area that otherwise you may not be able to see. But by staying on property, you're going to be right there in the middle of the magic. You're going to have direct access to the Walt Disney World transportation system. You're going to have access to extra magic hours and extra magic hours. You're not going to have to worry about finding a parking space. You try and know where the bus stops are. You can even Uber and Lyft, or get a minivan, which is the on-property version of Lyft at Disney, to kind of get you to and from a little bit faster. So you're going to maximize your time by staying on property. So that's a great thing to think about. Also, if you're flying in, you'll have your magic bands. You can use Disney's Magical Express to check your baggage at your point of destination. Say if I leave the Huntsville area and I'm in North Alabama, I could use Disney's Magical Express to check my bags in Huntsville. They will show up in my hotel room in Disney World as long as I'm using my magic band. They send you special tags in the mail before your trip, little yellow ones that are very easy to see, and Disney cast members grab those off the luggage carousel for you, they put on the bus for you, and then they're carried to your room for you. It's part of it. So again, you could head straight to the parks from the airport in Orlando if you wanted to. So one thing to consider that may help you out a lot. Number 6, you want to be aware of new lands and attractions that are opening, because this will affect crowd levels definitely. So when Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opens in Walt Disney World, it's going to be real busy for a few days, not just a few days or a few weeks, but likely a few months, I would think, in that park. So that's why they've extended extra magic hours, not only at Disney Hollywood Studios, but also at some of the other parks as well, to hopefully alleviate some of those crowd levels to help guests have a better experience. It's going to be an awesome time. I'm very excited about it, but it's one of those things you need to be aware of. You can go back and look at reports when the world of Avatar opened at Animal Kingdom, or when Toy Story Land opened. And there are also other attractions that are being built right now, like the Tron coaster at Magic Kingdom, the Ratatouille attraction, and Guardians of the Galaxy attraction that are going to both be at Epcot. There's a lot of stuff coming out for a big anniversary at Walt Disney World that's coming up in the next couple of years. So, be aware of those things, because those could affect when you go to certain parks on certain days. It could. And, those things vary throughout the year. And Disney will tell you online, if you go to their website, it can be hard to find sometimes. But again, travel agencies are things that we can look up very easily for you, to let you know when things are going to be under refurbishment, like some of the attractions in park. But also, for example, some of the pools at your hotels might be under refurbishment. So you're the kind of person like, I want to take a pool day at the hotel. Well, there are a couple of hotels in the next about year and a half. They're going to have their major pool renovated. So those are things to be aware of as you're planning, as you're thinking about your stay. There are other pools. There are typically multiple pools at all the hotels. But when the big one gets shut down, that's could affect sometimes where people stay and what they do. So let's bring it all back together. So again, our conversation tonight: is there such thing as a half-day park? I tell you all these things, all these 6 different things that I've talked about. Well, 6 plus. There are a few bonus points in there to basically say all of that. It all depends on the kind of experience that you want. So I'm not going to go ahead and put a label on Animal Kingdom or Epcot or Hollywood Studios as a half-day park. I think it's pretty safe to say that most folks with Disney that know the parks, that understand it, and understand the history, and have been there, would say Magic Kingdom flat out. It's not a half-day park, not even a one-day park. You could very easily spend 2-3 days just at the Magic Kingdom, trying to see everything and doing everything that there is need to do. But for the other 3, a lot of times I hear conversation from folks on, which one do you think I should leave early, and those sorts of things. So again, I just encourage you to think about the kind of trip you want to have. Think about the things that we just talked about, and how those will affect your stay. Because I don't want to just put a rubber stamp on it and say, yes, one of those other parks is a half-day experience. Just hit it for a few hours in the morning, you'll be fine. You never know. You never know about crowd levels. You never know about ride closures. You never know about special events. So there's lots of different moving pieces to consider. So if you plan well, plan intentionally, and throw some flexibility in there, keep all those things in mind, you'll have a great experience regardless of how long your trip is, if it's just a few days or if it's a week-long celebration. So just a few reminders tonight. Remember about the giveaway that I talked about at the beginning. And if you're just now hopping on the Facebook Live, this is what we're giving away. This is a Star Wars Galaxy's Edge limited edition pin from Disneyland in California. One of my friends, John Nell, brought back for us. So you cannot buy these. These are only for guests that stay on property. And he had an extra one that he was sending me. So that's pretty awesome. And a lanyard right here. So this is a Star Wars. You can see it says Disneyland Galaxy's Edge on it, and these are special for the opening of Galaxy's Edge. And these go for I don't know, 50, 70 bucks. That's what he told me on eBay right now. It's got a little pouch in the bottom where you can put your ID and your park tickets if you want, so you don't have to carry your wallet. But the way that we're going to be giving those away is if you like the podcast page, Travel Tip Tuesday podcast, or go to my business page and share with me how I've helped you, maybe a little anecdote on something that's meant something to you in the planning process, whether you've booked a trip with me or not. But if you go to Apple iTunes podcast, so you go to Apple iTunes, the podcast platform for Apple, and you search Travel Tips Tuesday, you'll see the logo, Travel Tips Tuesday logo there, and you leave me a review there, you will get 5 additional entries. So try to let more folks know about what Travel Tips Tuesday is all about in the podcast world, because we do have a few folks that listen to it on there. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining me, regardless of how you hear this stuff. It's a lot of fun. And again, my planning services are always free to you. If you would like to plan a trip or talk about a Disney destination, a cruise, all-inclusive trip somewhere in the United States or abroad, or anything else you can dream up, I'd love to chat with you. So thank you again for joining me, and we do hope you have a magical evening. See you real soon. Bye-bye.